Taoiseach, counts in the elections are still taking place, so the elections aren't quite over. But one thing that was made clear to me on the doors is that people out there aren't interested in the Punch and Judy show that often takes place in this House. They're not interested in petty political one-upmanship or politics that values sound bites over substance. The people who voted for our candidates that they met on the doors, who put their trust in them and voted for them, want representatives who will work hard, who are clear on what they can deliver, and who can offer credible solutions to the many problems that we face. We all know what those problems are: the housing disaster, healthcare crisis, climate emergency, and threadbare disability services. Taoiseach, the findings of a new report from Family Carers Ireland today are shocking, but they shouldn't be a surprise to any of us. Nearly 2/3 of carers have never received any respite. A similar number say they struggle to make ends meet, and their loved ones don't receive any formal support. Nearly 50% have had to pay privately for products or services that should be publicly available to them. And nearly 1 in 4 have missed a mortgage payment or rent payment over the last year. Taoiseach, the report outlines a litany of failure when it comes to state services and state reports. The problem is not even that there's no support out there, although that is increasingly the case for many families. It's that the state often seems to erect barriers to deny people what little support does exist. Qualifying criteria for support that are almost impossible to meet, time-consuming and complicated applications that people don't have the time and the energy to fill out, and an attitude of ambivalence and apathy from state institutions that chips away at people's morale and their self-belief. Taoiseach, you've repeatedly promised to support carers, but people don't buy it because they've heard it all before. The same promises, the same commitments that bear no relationship to the reality experienced by carers out there. And that reality is what is contained in today's report. The daily financial struggle, the anger at the lack of services, the constant anxiety about the absence of supports, and the dread about what will happen to loved ones when the carer is no longer around. Taoiseach, there's no bigger gap between rhetoric and reality than the one that exists when it comes to disability and care. Disabled people and older people have a right to live independent lives that the state refuses to vindicate, while the government repeatedly tells carers how much they're valued and then refuses to actually value them. It's an indictment of this government that access to respite, which is already in crisis, is actually deteriorating.
Thank you, Deputy.
Taoiseach, carers and their families were promised a lot. When will you actually deliver? When will carers have access to at least 20 days respite a year, and will you abolish the means test for carers allowance?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
Well, thanks very much, Ken Corlin. I congratulate Deputy Kearns on the councillors for her party that got elected, and wish everybody got elected well. But lots of people also voted for my party, and lots of people voted for my coalition parties colleagues in Fianna Fáil and the Greens as well. So your view of how people view the political situation isn't always in line with what the people actually decided to do at the ballot box on Friday, because more than around 53% of council seats have gone to councillors from Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and the Green Party as well. So just to be aware of that. Your party did well in the elections, I congratulate you, but these parties in this benches did better too. So let's not, when you say people don't buy it, the people had a chance to give their views on lots of issues in a very large democratic exercise, and sometimes the views expressed in this House aren't actually the views that are expressed out in towns, villages and cities right across this country. I want to thank you for raising a very important issue around respite and around care, and I want to begin by saying I intend to meet directly with Family Carers Ireland this month with the relevant ministers, because I do think we need to listen and drill down into a number of the findings of their very useful report that they've published today. And let me begin by expressing my gratitude to the thousands of carers across our country who provide unending care and support for their loved ones. And let me tell you some of the things that we do intend to do to support them and some of the things that we have already done. Because I do fully understand the importance of respite provision for the families of children and adults with disabilities, and indeed the positive impact that it can have on their lives. That's why we have doubled respite funding in Ireland since 2018. It has doubled, and it's why my colleague Minister Anne Rabbitte will in the next couple of weeks publish a new respite investment plan. This is a plan that will take the additional money that we allocated in the budget and will detail how the funding is going to be used to support respite for children and for adults around the country. Because we do need to do better and we need to do more when it comes to respite. And I'm really looking forward to that plan, because it's going to look at a whole variety of different ways we can help families. It's going to look at how we can provide day respite, how we can provide more in terms of overnight respite, how we can look at making sure that the respite capacity, the residential capacity that's in place is being fully utilised as well. We should say, for context, in 2018 there were 87,177 overnight respite nights provided. That number was 151,123 last year, in addition to 45,424 day respite places. I accept we are not doing enough and there is a need to do more. That is why we're going to publish a respite investment plan to detail how we intend to do more in the months ahead. But by any fair measure, the level of respite provision has very significantly increased. The budget more than doubled, the number of nights provided gone from over 87,000 to over 151,000. Of course, respite is just one of a number of things that are done to support carers. We also, from a financial point of view, try to support through the Carer Support Grant that Minister Humphreys ensured was provided to 132,000 carers last week as well. And this very week, Corla, we're also increasing the carers allowance disregard, meaning more carers will qualify for this support and more income can be disregarded. And that's a very positive way of helping carers.
Deputy Kern.
Corla. Taoiseach, respectfully, I said that people didn't buy the rhetoric on carers, and I think that's a really good example of how different the rhetoric is versus the reality of what people experience. And the problem with what you're saying is that people have heard it all before. Carers have heard the same promises, not just from you, but from your predecessor and the Taoiseach before that, and the Taoiseach before that. But instead of things getting better, they're getting worse. Already, threadbare services have become even harder to access. That goes for respite, it goes for access to therapies through Children's Disability Network teams. Progressing disability services is a failure. Financial supports have become harder to qualify for. Respite should be regular and routine. It's basically non-existent for many people. Taoiseach, the contents of the report are shameful. The system that carers rely on is utterly broken and continuing to deteriorate. Trying to access any kind of support, no matter how meagre, involves a fight, and many carers don't have the energy to fight. They can't take on the state and care for their loved ones, and they shouldn't have to. Almost everyone in this House would be supportive of efforts to improve services and supports for carers. So why has there been so little progress? You say you're doing a report. We have all of the reports we need on this issue. What we need is action.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
No, I didn't say we're doing a report at all. I said what we're going to do we don't need any more reports. What we're going to do between now and budget day is review the means test. Because when I talk to carers and the respite investment plan, well, hang on, there's two different issues here. Let's take them both sequentially. In relation to the means test, when I go around the country, there are too many people who find the means test a bit mean. And we want to make the means test more generous and more understanding so more carers can benefit. That's why this week, you can shake your head all you want because you can answer questions and sometimes don't like when I answer them. That's why this week we're making changes to the income disregard so that more people will benefit from carers allowance. I'm sure you welcome that. That's happening this week. No one needs to wait for any report or plan for that. In relation to respite investment, what Minister Rabbitte is quite rightly doing is going to detail to this House, and much more importantly than this House, to people relying on respite services, how the €15 million extra we've allocated is going to make a real difference. How we're going to get from the 87,000 nights we were providing to above 151,000 and beyond that as well. And what I'm telling you is we're going to do more, because every year this government has been in office, we've done more on the carers allowance, more on the carers benefit, more on the means test, more on respite. And I agree, I'm willing to work in a non-combative way to see how we can do even more, and I look forward to meeting with Family Carers Ireland this month.
Taoiseach, we go now.